That's worldwide? Or that's just
Oh
in
no,
Canada?
that's just what we got in Canada.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Joseph's going to be late. Held up.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll just start anyways. Okay, so I'm going to open this up then.
Okay.
So if you guys want to grab a seat,
Grab a
relax.
seat and a shade.
That's not a problem. We'll just open it up as if we're doing it now. So
And I also, Walter,
If we go sit over
everybody
there.
opened up their emails, but no one's
Oh,
come
no,
in
one
yet,
of the
so
breeze
I'm
people.
just...
Yeah.
I'm okay. I'm
Yeah,
take a break in there.
all right, we're going to start now. Okay. So hello everybody. My name is Dwight Erickson, and I'm one of the lead interim administrators for the Prairie Republic as the adjudicator for the Natural Sovereign Law Court. So I want to welcome all the fellow sovereigns to the Prairie Republic. We are here today to meet and greet all the administrators and friends. We welcome you all and your family, and we hope you enjoy what we have here for you. We are here to inform you of the progress of the Prairie Republic administration, and our focus has been the Prairie Republic Constitution and natural sovereign law. We have been working on building administration and committees towards ratification of the Prairie Republic. And we would like to see all the sovereigns of the Prairie Republic join the solution and focus on the solution rather than the issues. But the issues go away once we have the ratification of the Constitution and natural sovereign law. The reason we have chosen natural sovereign law, it's the only original law and the only law that will hold all accountable. Today, we see so many tyrants that need to be held accountable. And at this moment, we are setting up our natural sovereign law courts. And when the ratification comes through, we will have it completely structured to bring forth these tyrants in our Prairie Republic. And they will all be held accountable for the crimes against humanity and against the sovereigns. So at this moment, I would like to present to you our lead administrator for the interim administration, and that's Liz Seawalt. Liz Seawalt is one of our founding members, if you want to call it that. She's been here right from the origination of our Constitution. So go ahead, Elizabeth.
Somebody's phone is ringing.
Somebody's phone's ringing. Okay, hang
Put it
on.
on airplane mode.
Airplane mode, yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so go ahead, Elizabeth.
Now I can hear you. Now I can hear.
All right. Now we can hear
Okay.
you too.
Hi, everybody. All right. I guess I'll begin then. Hello, everybody. My name is Elizabeth, and I'm the lead administrator for the Prairie Republic. And what the Prairie Republic is all about is we're building and restructuring an accountable system. And it's based in a true republic. And this is a true republic, not just a republic. There is a difference. And we are building this with a constitution written by the sovereigns, for the sovereigns. It's all about the sovereigns. And it gives full authority to the sovereigns, which then gives us a sovereign governance. That's what we're building. We're restructuring and building this system. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of background about how I came into this. And this happened about 6 years ago. And I was approached with a question. And the question was, is Canada a country? And I thought, well, of course it's a country. I've been living in it all my life. And this person, this sovereign, challenged me and says, well, I want you to prove it's a country. And I said, okay, I will. So I did. I went and I did my research. I was shocked, of course, and surprised, but I did my research, and in my rabbit hole, and when I went down that rabbit hole, I found that Canada is a corporation, and that Canada is listed on the SIC in the District of Columbia, and it is a corporation. Well, after this discovery, I then was faced with another question. And this same sovereign came to me and said, does Canada have a constitution? And I said, of course it does. Look in 1982 when Pierre Trudeau resurrected the Constitution, the BNA Act. And they said, are you sure that's the Constitution? And I thought, okay. So another challenge. So I went down that rabbit hole. And now, and as I went down that rabbit hole, I kept thinking and finding information And when I found out that Canada was a corporation, all right, well then, because I've been in business most of my life, I knew that corporations don't have constitutions, they have charters. And I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense. So if this is not a country, and it does not have a constitution, which I hadn't quite found that out yet, but I thought I would go and look. So the only place I thought I could go look was in Ottawa. So I went to Ottawa, and I went in and asked to see the Constitution. And they told me that it could not be viewed. And I said, what do you mean it can't be viewed? The United States is shown all the time. Where is it? Oh, it's locked up in a safe place. I said, well, I'd like to see it. Everybody should be able to see it if it's our Constitution for the people. And they said, no, it's not displayed, and I would not be able to see it. So I thought, well, that is strange. I thought, okay, what is this BNA Act? So I went down that rabbit hole, and I started researching the British North American Act, and that took me to England. When I was in England, in London, I went into most of their archives to find out a lot of stuff. So what I found out was that the British North American Act was based on another document called the Magna Carta. The Magna Carta, I found out in the archives in England, is a dead document. And then I thought, well, if the British North American Act is based on the Magna Carta, how then could it be a constitution? Because it's based on a dead document, so the British North American Act also must be a dead document. So I started researching that. And I found out in the archives in England that yes, the Magna Carta is a dead document, and the British North American Act is a dead document. So I returned and I said, we don't have a constitution. The BNA Act is a dead document. So everything that Pierre Trudeau did in 1992, or 82, was it 82?
82.
I think it was 82.
82.
1980. When he resurrected, he was definitely trying to resurrect a dead document. That's why they call it the resurrection.
Yep.
And I thought, what the heck? So he lied to us all that it was never a constitution. And I thought, okay, so who's going to believe me? And as I was kind of trying to talk to other sovereigns about this and try to tell them what I had learned and the research I had done, I came across another book. There was a fellow out in Toronto, Ontario, and he had the original book written by Roger Smith called Ho Canada. And I got this book. He wouldn't part with it, but he did make copies, and I had a PDF file of it. And I read this book. I printed it off and I read it. And in there I found out that through all these MPs, they knew we were in a constitutional crisis. We were in a confederation crisis, but none of them would admit it to the public. They were lying to us all. So after reading this book, I then realized that lying King Mackenzie, I call him lying because he is a liar, was a fraud. And that back in the early 30s, when they were actually starting, it was before that, they had to form a government. So he forged the king's signature, and he forged the patent letters. And that is how they formed this government we have today. All this is documented, and they have all these documents. But if you go to try and find them right now, good luck. You'll never be able to get even to any of these government sites. Now, this information from this document led me to another document, which I had found, and it was a letter written by an MP, Walter Cool. And this was, remember when Quebec wanted to separate, and they had all this stuff going on, and they wanted to separate from Canada, you know? And Walter Cool wrote this letter to René Lévesque and said, these are the words, I love this statement. How can you divorce if you have never been married? And that stayed with me. That letter was an opportunity to say, hey, we don't have a constitution, we do not have a charter of rights, we have none of this. But, of course, there's lots that don't want to accept that. So, but what Walter Cool was referring to, what his most important method was, The more
Oh, that engineer didn't put it on
Sorry,
airplane mode.
you cannot put in airplane mode because we.
Oh, because
I'll just wait until you're finished. Okay, so Walter Cool, what he was referring to and what he was trying to get across to Rennie Levesque
We will not have
was
internet.
that
oh,
the Corporation of Canada has never confederated. All right, we have never confederated, and he wanted Rennie Levesque to know that all of the provinces are free nations. You can develop your own republic if you choose. And he was trying to tell that to Rennie Levesque, that you did not have to ask permission to leave. You've already have it. Okay? So that's what that document came across when I was reading it. Then, as I went down more rabbit holes, I found another document. And this was closer to home to me. This is the case of the MP, Mr. Littlechild of Wetaskiwin, Alberta. Well, Mr. Littlechild was running to be elected, and the sovereigns of Wetaskiwin voted him in because he said he would not vote in the GST. This was back in 1990 when the GST was coming in. And he went, of course, to Parliament, and he voted in, went against everything that the constituents asked him of, and he voted in the GST. Well, all the constituents of Wetaskiwin got upset and said, okay, we're taking you to court. You lied to us. You are working for us. And they went to court. And this is what the judge told them. The judge informed the sovereigns of Wetaskiwin that you have no rights in this court, and that the MP, Mr. Littlechild, is not accountable in this court. And he threw it out. Well, I then realized that we have no rights, and the Charter of Rights protects only the employees of the corporation. We have no laws. I found out that all we have are criminal codes, and they create them without our say, and these codes do not protect us. Well, our corrupt system, I found out as I ran down more rabbit holes, that they built this whole system on 5 pillars. Our law. This is your law. You have your common law, your civil law, your admiralty law, and your bar law. All right? And who defends all these pillars is your lawyers. And they are attorneys. That's the name for them. The proper name is attorneys. And these lawyers defend this whole system. They give their oath to the crown, and that's not the Queen. The crown are the 3 districts, and that's the District of Columbia, the District of London, and the District of the Vatican. That's who they give their oath to, and that is who they serve. So when they say they're protecting us and looking after us, and we've got this big Charter of Rights that everybody waves around these days, is a lie. Because a constitution does not have a charter. Only a corporation does. So, of course, we were lied to again. So they designed the system, and they designed it this way to enslave us, which made us have no rights, no laws, and no protection. And what the Prairie Republic is asking all sovereigns is to change the system. We need to change the system. We need to walk away and build an accountable system. And that this time, this is when I decided at this date and time, I was still voting up until this time. At this time, I realized that all political parties and all MPs are corrupt, and I stopped voting because I knew that nothing I wanted or wanted to have done would ever get done because they're not working for us, they're working for the corporation. So at this time, I have discovered that Canada's corporation, we do not have a constitution, that Canada has never confederated, we have no laws but criminal codes, and this government created a corrupt system, and we call it now Admiralty Law. When realizing all these truths, and realizing that I was living a lie my whole life, I decided I've got to do something about it. And that is when I came across a group that was drafting, they were talking.
Here's Elizabeth talking about the Constitution, so sit and
that
join.
is when I decided I'm going to join this group. Every day, these sovereigns got together in a Zoom room,
online, kind of
And we
following a
read
little bit
all
with you
different
guys.
types of constitutions right across the world, from Iceland, from Switzerland. We even went straight to Germany to think what they have, and then we found out that Germany doesn't have a constitution either. And then we went to Australia, and we found out Australia has 2 constitutions, right, overlapping each other. They're in worse shape than we are. And then we went to the USA, and the USA, we found out, is also a corporation, and that they have an original now listen to this, they have an original constitution hidden away in the archives that no one has seen since it was first written. I think in 1776 was when it was written, and the one they have today is not their constitution. Most of it is, but it's not. The original is hidden from the people, and I found that out. So that kind of was a shocking thing too when we were researching that. We read all these constitutions, and then we decided, okay, let's take the best of everything and let's start drafting our own. Let's put it in our own words. And everybody got a say. And Dwight said there was 75, but there was actually 100. Dwight?
Oh, okay.
There was 100 sovereigns in and out of that Zoom room throughout that whole, it took us 2 years to complete it, all right? That first year was all about
Notice I gotta turn the
researching and
barbecue.
wording, because
Is
we
it
had
smoky?
to stay away from legally words. Any of those legal words would cause us problems. So we had to stay away from that. And we only wanted grassroots sovereigns, you and I, people like you and I, working every day to draft this Constitution. We did not have any lawyers there. We had no legalese there. We had no politicians there. We had no one working for the corporation. If you were any way compromised, we asked you to please just sit and listen, because what they wanted was to bring in their legal talk. And we said, no, we want to draft a constitution that everybody could understand. We could give this constitution to a 10-year-old child, and they would be able to read it and understand it. And we did that. And those 2 years were hectic, believe me. That first year, everybody argued. Everybody wanted a say. Everybody wanted their mark. They wanted to be the founding father. And I said, it's not about being the founding father or the founding mother or whatever you want to call yourself. This is about all sovereigns. Everyone has a say. And that's how it went. Everybody got their say. Egos rose and egos fell, and we had lots of infiltration in those 2 years, believe me. And there was a lot of sovereigns coming in wanting to bring in common law, and we kept saying, I had to teach them because no one ever heard of natural law before. I introduced natural law because I know about natural law, and I have been studying natural law way before I started drafting this Constitution. I just didn't know why I learned it. I didn't know why, but now I do today. I was actually being taught to bring me to this time. That's what I truly believe. So what happened then is these sovereigns got upset that we did not adopt common law into the Constitution. When I tried to explain to them about natural law, they called me Jungle Jane, that I'm going back to the jungle, and that it didn't mean nothing. And I said, and then I went back to teach them how natural law was hijacked and all of that. They still fought tooth and nail, and a lot of them left, a lot of them just gave up, didn't want anything to do with it, and they wanted to stay in the system. They were afraid to leave the system. It was only fear. It was only fear. Some was fear, some was ego, and some was power. Those are the three that caused a lot of division and a lot of infiltration and a lot of arguing. We got through that, and we ended up after 2 years having what we have today. What we did in those 2 years is your Constitution Convention. We had it. So when anybody out there is telling you, oh, we need a constitutional convention, no, we already have it. It's already been done. It's already been done by the grassroots, the sovereigns like you and I. We are the ones that drafted this, all right? So today, this is the Prairie Republic Constitution that we are presenting to you today. This Constitution is based in natural law, and natural law, if you understand natural law, it's the maxims of love. And what that means is the statements of truth. And what that means is full accountability to yourself and to everyone around you and all living systems. Like those beautiful trees I see in the sky, all living systems you're accountable for. You're going back to the land. That's natural law. Our Constitution protects all of us, our unalienable rights. Not inalienable as it's written in the USA Constitution, that it's a corporation right now, but unalienable. What that means is it can never be taken from you because it's been given to you by the Creator. That is the most important thing to remember. We have that unalienable right to actually, we have the lawful right to do exactly what we're doing. So today, I'd like to invite all of you sovereigns to get involved and help build this accountable system. And I want to remind you that it is our lawful right. We have the right to do this. This is our unalienable right. And I'd like to encourage all of you to just stand up and take your power back. If you go to vote, you're giving your power away. Take your power back because it's up to us to save ourselves. Nobody out there is going to save us. No Trump, no Q, no MP, no Pierre, no, none of these politicians are going to save you. They are going to cause you more destruction. They speak the language, they tell you what you want to hear, and as you have learned by the little child case, they don't listen to you anyways. They will not listen to you. Okay? So really discern who you are giving your power to. Please stand in your own power, your own consciousness, and stand there and become your own power. You take back that and stand up for yourself. That's the only way we can do that. So I'm asking you to join this administration, join a committee, get involved, help us build these structures because these templates can be used anywhere in the world. We're designing this system, it can be used anywhere. All right? Anywhere. And when you join, you train. We're in training, yes, some of us are in training, some of us more so than others, okay? And educating so that when this gets implemented, we are the ones to go out and teach it, to instruct everybody else about it. That's what we are called to do. Now, I would love to see this implemented, in a community and get going so that others could see how it works, and we can walk away from the system. That's what we can do. We, the Prairie Republic, with this Constitution and natural law, is the only solution for all the sovereigns out there. I just wish they would see it. I really do. So I want to thank you all today. And as I always say after every time I have a talk and every time I do a live, sovereign forever, imagine that, and be the change. Thank you very much.
Hi.
Any questions?
Anybody, any questions?
Any questions?
What is a sovereign?
What is a sovereign?
Yep.
A sovereign is, how can I explain it? Okay, the difference between a sovereign and a citizen. Can I do it that way?
Yep.
Okay. A sovereign, when you were conceived, you were sovereign because that's a gift from the Creator. Your sovereignty is a gift the day you are conceived. I didn't say born, because in this system, once you are born and given birth, and your mother signs that little card, you have now become bonded and become a citizen of this corporation. That's the difference between a sovereign and a citizen. With our sovereignty from the Creator, we also have unalienable rights already given to us as soon as we're conceived. As soon as we're conceived, we have those rights. And what are those rights? The right to life, the right to work, the right to have a family, the right to be with whoever you want to be with, your choice, the right to earn a living without being taxed. You have the right to live where you want to live. You have the right to contract. You have all these unalienable rights that come with being sovereign. So, does that answer your question?
Yes.
Any other question?
So I know sovereignty by meaning is supreme legitimate authority within a territory. And
Well, what sovereignty means is that as sovereigns, we have this constitution, but you are above the constitution. The only being above you is your creator. So you have your creator, you have yourself, and then the constitution. All right, you're above it. But you are all powerful. Every one of us has this power within us. We just have to take it. And that comes with our sovereignty.
so when you think of the
Right.
indigenous meaning originating and occurring naturally in a particular place, native, and we want to do natural law, so it's all intertwined, the indigenous and sovereignty of a nation. Like
Well, indigenous, I would like to talk about indigenous. Indigenous is a word that the corporation made up for all the tribal nations. I call them tribal nations because they all were tribal nations. Every one of us came from a tribe. Every one of us, throughout the end of time, we all came from a tribe. So, I don't like using the word indigenous or First Nations because this was a description gave to a tribal nation by a corporation. That's why I don't like using that word.
although we've got to change the narrative because we are going down a path where they're given indigenous rights and there's a transition from what they gave us as the truth and reconciliation into a transition into this new meaning. So I understand what you're saying, but we do have to have a way of that meaning be changed. You know, as you say,
Yes.
yeah, I understand. I
So
understand, but we're
because Bert, when I talk to the clan mothers, like when I talk to the one shaman, and she passed away, and then I talked to Nolene, one of the other clan mothers, and when I said to them, you know, when I address you as a tribal nation, does that upset you? She goes, oh, of course not. No. She said, no. She said, that is what we are.
Mhm.
I said, well, then why do you have this word indigenous and all these other? She said, that word's given to us. And everybody thinks we need to adopt that word, but we don't. She said, no, you can consider us a tribal nation, sure, because that's what we were. And the shaman said to me the same thing. She said, yes, that was given to us, and everybody's been so indoctrinated with that word. They think the only way they can get help or monetary means is by sticking to what they've been labeled.
Right.
But natural law has no labels. So we are all sovereign. If you want to think of it that way, we are all sovereign. There's no label. I'm not going to call you indigenous. I'm not going to call you Canadian. I'm not going to call you American. We are all sovereigns.
and I'm proud to be
natural law,
Métis.
everybody
Call
got
me
into
Métis.
natural law, there'd be no borders.
That's right.
Yes.
There would be no borders. Can you imagine the freedom of that? There would be no labels. None of this me, we, she, he, LMNO, PQ, RSD, you know, all that, that's ridiculous.
So democracy
You're either-
is the demo of craziness.
Yeah, exactly.
So
You're
yeah,
a man or a woman.
It's a good one.
So there is a lot of that, those meanings that they gave us, and how do we get out of the meanings that they give us to a new transition into something that we believe as prairie republics and our own constitution, and work with that. You know, it's got to be a transitional.
Well, yeah, there is a transition, and that's what we're creating today,
Hi.
right now, Luke.
Yes.
We are creating that right now with the Prairie Republic. This is the transition into a accountable system This is the transition. That's why it's so important. I know everybody sits here and goes, well, yeah, we come in, we talk, we try, and we build, we work on this, we work on that, and everybody's getting bored. We want to see action, action, action. But
Well,
if you don't,
I'm glad
have
you agree with me.
yeah, if they don't have it structured, a system structured, sorry, how are you going to run something? How are you going to run a community without having a structure to run on? Have you thought about that?
Have to have a framework.
Yes, we probably got it all figured out with our Indigenous Business Alliance, but we'll continue on in the conversation. And we're still working towards a better solution for sure, and we appreciate what you were saying.
Okay.
All right. So, that's it for questions?
Hold the pen. Hold.
All right. So, anyhow, to introduce myself again, my name is Dwight Erickson. Oh, and we're losing our tent here. Came up. I'll have to fix that. So, and I'm
counterweight.
one of the lead interim administrators for the Prairie Republic.
Sense.
Communicator for
Boss the peg right there.
Sovereign Law Court. So welcome, fellow sovereigns, to the Prairie Republic. We're here today to meet and greet all the administrators and friends. We welcome you and all your family and hope you enjoy what we have here today. We're here to inform you of the progress of the Prairie Republic administration. Our focus has been on the Prairie Republic Constitution and natural sovereign law. And we've been working on building administration and committees towards ratification of the Prairie Republic. We'd like to see all the sovereigns of the Prairie Republic join the solution and focus on the solution rather than the issue. For the issues go away once we have ratification of the Constitution and natural sovereign law. And the reason we have chosen natural sovereign law is it's the only original law and the only law that will hold all accountable. Today we see so many tyrants that need to be held accountable. And at this moment we are setting up a natural sovereign law court. And when the ratification goes through, we'll have it completely structured to bring forth these tyrants into our Prairie Republic, and they will all be held accountable for the crimes against the sovereign. So at this moment, I'm going to introduce you to the Prairie Republic Constitution. And there's 8 parts of the Constitution. I'm going to tell you about them one at a time. Beginning with Part 1. Part 1 is all about your sovereignty, which Elizabeth has just talked about. And it's to inform you that you have all been sovereign from the day you were born. And with that sovereignty comes your unalienable rights. And with those unalienable rights, which is backed by natural sovereign law, comes liberty, freedom, prosperity, land, and property. And that is Part 1 of our Constitution. Part 2 is all about our unalienable rights, which gives us right, freedom of speech, freedom to assemble, freedom to bear arms and carry, freedom to own property, freedom to live wherever you decide and whoever you want to live with, freedom to work and get paid for your work, own your own home, freedom of good health, the right to travel, the right to privacy, the right to marry and have children, the right to live in peace, the right to security from abuse, persecution, and tyranny. And there are many more that I have not mentioned. This is Part 2 of the Prairie Republic Constitution. And our natural sovereign law protects all these rights. Part 3 is all about paying no more taxes, and this is one of our unalienable rights. We have the authority as sovereigns to work and be paid for the work we do, with no taxation. Natural sovereign law backs Part 3 and is part of our protection as sovereigns. Part 4 gives us the unalienable right to practice any spiritual belief, if this belief does not harm another sovereign. All our churches and associations will be held accountable in natural sovereign law. In our Prairie Republic, we will have a committee to monitor all churches and associations. And this committee is called Unitary Committee. Any sovereign can go to this committee if they feel they have been harmed in any way. Part 5 is your freedom of speech, your freedom to assemble. This is your unalienable right. If you cause no harm to another sovereign, this is natural sovereign law. Part 6 is your unalienable right to keep and bear arms, to possess weapons. All sovereigns will be held accountable if they harm another sovereign in natural sovereign law. Part 7 is all about treason. Treason is all about coercion and planning to overthrow the Prairie Republic Constitution and natural sovereign law. Anyone brought forth with the charge of treason will be held accountable before natural sovereign law grand jury. Part 8 This is all about the sovereigns making decisions on the running of the Prairie Republic and the hiring of administrators and positions in all our infrastructure and institutions. This gives the decision making to the sovereigns full authority. The only way you can amend our Constitution is by 100% of the nation agreeing. This protects our Constitution. The articles from 1 to 82 are guidelines to the structuring of our infrastructure and institutions. And the only way you can amend an article is you need 75% agreement throughout the nation. The Prairie Republic Administration has set up a committee called the Sovereign Committee, which will look after all the hiring and decision-making stations within every county to be assessed by all sovereigns. So I want to talk to you about that structure of the administration and how it works with our Constitution and national sovereign law. We are all part of a national interim administration. And interim means we are volunteers right now, which will eventually lead to a paid position. Our job is to build the infrastructure of our Prairie Republic, so when we are ratified as a Prairie Republic, all the administration will be set up and ready for the hiring of all positions by the sovereigns. For in this Prairie Republic, the sovereigns decide who works for us. I'll begin with a list of committees first, and we'll start with security, which is our sheriffs and peace officers. Next is our courts, natural sovereign law pre-trials and grand jury, which will require adjudicators, court administrators, court stenographers, court officers, court bailiff, court media reporter, and jurors. In natural sovereign law, we will require 12 jurors for all grand juries. The next is our monetary committee, and this committee will be set up with our monetary distribution centers, which will require administration for each distribution center in every county. We will also have national monetary committee to guide all county administration. Media committee is responsible for informing the sovereigns of all activities at the administration and the different committees. We also report all cases to the court. They report all decisions made within the nation and all hirings within the nation. Health and Wellness Committee is in the Prairie Republic. Their health and wellness centers are known as health centers. And there will be a National Health and Wellness Committee that will oversee and guide all health centers within each county. And each county will